Okay, so we're going to try to squeeze the thing into a small amount of time because I got other stuff to do, and I wanted to do a video today, but then my family, it's always my family. So, I screwed up yesterday. It's not really, but I did say something to my mother that I should have known was going to backfire. Because there have been a couple days this past week that I have commented on what are you going to do when I'm not here. And so of course she has this idea now that I don't want to be here forever, right? Which seems like she might have picked up on that at some other point in time, seeing as to how I'm 42 years old and there's no way I would want to live here forever. So it is what it is. But yesterday, when she was getting ready to go over to my grandma's house, I mentioned that my grandma said, or my aunt said they were going to have dinner over there. So, you know, my mom's still taking a bunch of crap and all this stuff. So my mom needs me to help her load stuff in the car, right? Fine. There's like this breakfast thing and this heavy duty glass 9x13 pan. These two things that have these, they're like Rice Krispie bars, but they're with Lucky Charms, and they're not bad, so they can be addictive. So there were two things of those. They were like the disposable aluminum with a plastic lid kind of a thing. So there's two of those. Then there's this pot that has a little bit of the vegetable soup that she made in it, right? And of course, since that was hot still because they were going over to my grandma's house, she left the rest of it in the crock pot to cool down so it could be put in the fridge after she got back. As I was carrying the last bit of stuff, I think it was the pot of vegetable soup, I stopped in the garage to grab a box to put it in so it wasn't hot on the leather seat. And as I was putting it in the car, she was putting something in on the other side and said, I don't know what we would do if you weren't around. It's like, yeah, well, you might want to figure that out. And then starts this little back and forth where she's suddenly curious about what my plans might possibly be. I've mentioned before that around the time my brother and sister-in-law were talking about moving to Oklahoma, I overheard my mom going off to my father about, you know what they're going to do, don't you? They're going to talk her into joining them. And she's going to move out to Oklahoma too. And I said, there's nothing in Oklahoma for me, right? Except for my family. The family that doesn't suck. So there is that point. But because of this little interaction over the back seat, you know, I start walking in the house and she says something about, well, I'm glad you're trying to make plans to do something. You need to have your own life. It's like, you don't mean that. Right? I didn't say that part, but it's like everything in me was like, you do not mean that. So I go in, and then she ends up coming back into the house because she realized she didn't have her wrist brace. And, you know, because she fell back in April and broke one wrist, like shattered I think she said distal radius. Not going to swear to that. Something in her wrist she shattered in like 8 to 10 places. So she had surgery and it's got pins and all that fun stuff. And then the other one didn't have anything wrong with it from the fall that they knew. There was no breakage or anything. So I don't know if it was like an overtime as she's used it more, or if she's just like immensely clumsier than she has been owning up to. Excuse me, and maybe jacked it up further. But the other side now, I don't know if it needs surgery or what's going on with it, but she's having issues with that side too. So she came back to get her wrist brace. And I don't remember, that back and forth I do remember. I had just gotten into the house and there was a container of tea on the freaking end table, right? So it's like, cool, we're keeping tea in the living, or in the, yeah, in the family room by the couch now, right? Because, you know, I've talked about just leaving apple cores and shit on the end table because we don't have to clean up after ourselves. We just get to be sloppy all the time, right? So this was like a jug of, or a half gallon. It was a full gallon jug, but there was like a half gallon of tea in it. It had been wandering around the kitchen. I've seen it on the counter. I've seen it on the table. I've seen it on the other counter. I have not seen it in the fridge. I'm not touching that one. I do not drink tea. I'm just not messing with that one. So I didn't do anything with it. Then I see it on the end table, right? So then my mom comes in and I point that out, and she went ahead and dumped it. She wasn't pleased, all this fun stuff, right? The usual BS. She goes, gets her wrist brace, makes another comment about me needing to have some kind of life of my own, and all I said was, I have no plans at the moment. And that was that, right? Should have been that. Should have been that. All right, so they go and, you know, go hang out over at my grandma's house. And at some point while I was doing a video, I commented when my dad was on the way back in the car. It's like, okay, first off, he's not supposed to be driving because he's had all these strokes, right? And like part of the issue with that is, you know, he's also, I guess, virtually blind in one eye. And the sight isn't great in the other eye. But I mean, it was literally driving across family property, so whatever. But at the same time, it's like, she left with a bunch of shit. She's going to have to bring some of those containers back, right? And so it's like, is he going back after her? Or how is this working out, right? So around 9:15, I think, I get a text message from my mother, and it is to me and my dad. And it says, are one of you going to pick me up, or I guess I can walk across the yard? It's like, yeah, but that goes well, right? So because I knew that she went with a bunch of stuff over there and was pretty sure my dad hadn't brought any of it back, I was going that way. And he's sitting at the kitchen table. I said, are you going to pick her up, or am I going to? And he's sitting there and doesn't have any idea what I'm talking about. It's like, well, Mom just sent a message, so if you didn't get it, I'll just go deal with it, right? So, going to deal with it. I go over to my grandmother's house, and at first I kind of, I drive past the back windows, because, okay, there's like a whole lot of construction on the road in front of our houses, so it's easier since there's connecting property that is family property. We've just been cutting through the yard, right? So I take my mom's car over there, and I kind of linger by the back window to see if I can see her walking through. I do not. So I meander up to the front, and my mother has not responded at all. So, because I stopped at the window and I said, I'm here, and then didn't see any kind of movement. And then I go to the front, right? And I pull in the driveway. And lights off. And my mother's nowhere to be found. So it's like, I'm here, are you coming or what? And I send the text, and then I look up and I notice the light is suddenly on. So I figure, okay, she's coming out, right? Except then I notice my mother's feet, and she has apparently fallen on the front porch. She has her head against the screen door, and it's just laying there. It's like, cool. My grandma can't get out the door because my mom's leaning against it, or has her head against it. And, like, it was the top of her head. She was all the way down flat. And I was like, because of course she is. Of course she is, right? When my brother made it clear that he and his family were going to be leaving, and my sister-in-law was moving, or I think she had, it was Easter. I think she left the day before Easter to go ahead and get up there because she had to be there for work the day after or whatever, and she might have needed to be there on Sunday for some reason because she works at a church. So when that whole thing was basically solidified, my mother fell. Because anytime you try to do anything different, and you know, that's like how she responds, is something stupid is going to happen, because it's basically her trying to pull you back into her chaos, right? So in this conversation that we had earlier in the evening, obviously it didn't go well. And that was, you know, the side effect, if you will. You know, of course, you know, my mother carrying all these things. She had the glass 9x13 container with the lid on it. It had some of that, there's like some kind of breakfast cake thing. And she never just makes one, she always makes a double batch, so it's like really thick. And I don't think it's really necessary, but I mean, you're not going to be able to talk her out of it, so whatever. But she had that. She had the pot. It no longer had anything in it because she left all that with my grandmother. But of course the pot had a glass lid. Lid didn't, okay, none of the glass broke. Conveniently. She had a bag that had a plastic container. It wasn't a really big one, but it was some leftover meat from the dinner that they had over there. And then, hi Peppy. Pepper just, no, I don't know what's going on with Pepper, because last night she just came and was laying inside my door, like when I went over to the bathroom. I opened the door and I come out of the bathroom and she's just laying in my door. It's like, that's different. But she just meandered in here. Now, when she's pissed, she will pee on my floor, so I don't really trust her to come in here, which could have been what that was, but, you know, she knows all mine are in here with me, so I don't know. Anyway. So my mother's on the ground, right? The concrete. Well, apparently my grandmother had heard the pot hit the concrete and had come, that was why she turned the light on, right? I don't know how long. I mean, it must not have been very long. As my mom said, she saw the lights of the car when I came around. And then my grandma flipped the light on, then I saw her, then I get out of the car and I go over there. I'm just kind of like, because of course this is the situation. And I just opened up a text message from my brother and sent him a picture, and I said, because of course she did. And he's like, what happened? Did she fall? It's like, what do you think happened? She always falls. It's always a fall, right? It's always something big. And my aunt and uncle came over quickly after, and apparently when my grandma heard the pot fall, she went, and she has this like life alert thing, and it sends the like it's a doorbell kind of a chime that since my mom lives over here so close and my aunt lives next door to her so close, it reaches, so she hits the button and they both get like the doorbell sound. And you know, so my aunt had tried calling her and she wasn't answering her phone, so she and my uncle came back over, and you know, of course they come around the corner and I just got out of the car, and mind you, I wasn't planning on doing anything. I didn't even have shoes on because I was literally just taking the car from here over to there and coming back. That was the extent of my plan. So we get my mother scraped off the concrete, her elbow's bleeding all over the place, and as she starts getting closer to getting up, she's, you know, really having issues with her back. She gets to the car and she's just moaning and groaning on everything, and I'd already put all the stuff in the car, and she gets in and my aunt and uncle shut the door, and she says, I think we need to go to the ER. It's like, because of course we do. Because of course we do, right? This is exactly 1 week after my father had issues because he took himself off his CPAP machine for 2 weeks and had another stroke. And yes, the doctor thinks that is exactly what caused the new stroke, right? So him taking himself off of the CPAP, and here we go, right? But like I said, the man has a death wish, so I'm not getting in the middle of that anymore. It is what it is. So we have to come back over here because we have food that has to be dropped off. I have to get shoes. She mentioned that she had the meat that needed to be put in the fridge. You know, so I'm getting all that stuff separated. I'm getting my bag that I want to take with me. Made sure I had my headphones because I will not be around my family without my headphones on, or with me available, because there's always some kind of bullshit that I eventually want to not be a part of, right? So I have my headphones, which was the issue with the headphones is I had just plugged them in before I went to pick her up, because I was watching the video that I did yesterday, and I had gotten it started to post, or it was in the uploading process when I went over there. So when I got back, I went and made sure I had, I clicked all the buttons to get that fully done, so she didn't get in the way of that stuff. Had to get my shoes and all that kind of crap, and almost didn't say anything to my dad, and it's like, I gotta say something to him. So I went back, and of course he's in bed, and I said, I'm taking Mom to the ER. And he says, why? I said, because she fell. And then he comes out there, and of course he doesn't walk fast, he's got this little shuffle, barely picks his feet up, all this crap. He comes outside, he's got shorts on, luckily he had shorts on, and he's talking to her, and it says, well, should I go along or should I stay here? It's like, I don't fucking care. Just fucking decide what you're going to do and either get ready and let's go, or let's get your ass in the house and I will go on my merry way, right? Oh, I took my headphones off. I had them on because I took him and dropped him off at the hospital a little bit ago. So he's hanging out with my mom, and then I said I was running some errands. This is an errand. And I said I will be back in a little bit. It is like 6:30. This clock is wrong, so I got to keep that in mind. Double check. 6:22. So we got a little time. I'm aiming to be back at like 7:30 over there, so I can pop in a little bit longer and then see if there's anything else that needs to be carried back to the car. Because my father. And then, yeah. So, he ends up going with us. We get to, of course, he loads in the car, and we go ahead and continue on our merry way, right? I forgot to take Piper off of her leash. I was like, hopefully she doesn't get tied up in anything, but otherwise we'll just have to make do. Hopefully it's all right. And we go over to the ER, and of course, every little bit, every sway in the road, every bump in the road, she's, oh, and all this shit. So it's like just a non-stop. Okay, I'm confident she's hurting. But still, just like the whole thing, I have no sympathy for it because it's the usual bullshit. And it's realizing that this is a big part of why me and my brother haven't had more of our own lives at this point in time. I'm 42, he's 45. And it's because every single time we try to do anything, something goes wrong with them because we're not supposed to have our own lives, right? So yeah, I have a really hard time having any compassion on, oh, she fell and hurt something again. So yeah. So get over to the ER. Of course, mind you, it's a beautiful full moon. Anyway, we get to the ER, and she's talking about how it's going to be probably really busy because it's a full moon and all this stuff. It's like, just sit there. Just sit there. It's going to be fine. We got there, and there was like one other person in the waiting room, so it's not like it wasn't busy at all. They went back for the check-in process, and then when they got a room, my dad sent me a message. Then I, went and checked with the desk, and then told me where it was at and let me in. And then we sit there because that's what you got to do at the freaking emergency room, right? We got to wait on things. We got to have tests done and wait on more things and all that fun stuff. So she has a CT scan, and she gets some morphine, and just like, okay, after the CT scan, they said that she has, because of course she does, she broke L1 in her back, right? So it has a compression fracture. And the next doctor that came in, I think she went and had an MRI done. And after that one, the next doctor that came in said he didn't think it was a full break, but he said there was some kind of deformity. So, of course, luckily, she got admitted because the first doctor came back and said that he was going to order some more morphine for her, and if she was still in a lot of pain, if that wasn't touching it, then he couldn't send her home to figure it out on her own, thankfully. So they ended up admitting her. And of course, I was trying to wait to figure out what the room number was. And my dad was just like, well, what should we do? What are we supposed to do? And my mom was just like, you guys can go home. I'm going to be admitted, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I was waiting on the fucking room number, but whatever. We just, just get the heck up out of here. Right? So we get to the car. I get my father in the car. I don't like spending time with my father. I've mentioned this many times. And he says something to the effect of, it wasn't what's going to happen next, but it was something along that line. What is it? It's always something. What is it going to be next, kind of a thing. And the first time he said it, I ignored him. The second time he said it, I said, if you are begging for trouble, you will find it. Knock it off. And then we did not say another word until we got back to the house. And luckily the dogs were fine. The one hadn't gotten hung up on anything or whatever. And, so that was no big deal. Now, I was trying to be in a better space. I go and I had to eat something before I went to bed because I was really hungry at that point. Like everything else had worn off at that point because we just went and killed 3 hours at the emergency room. So I stood there and I was eating like some of the meat that they had earlier. It's like this isn't something that I'm going to want to go to bed on, and yet here we are. Whatever. So I ate, then I went ahead and got ready for bed. Did a little bit of writing, not much, just finished off the page from earlier in the day. Because yesterday I had started with writing, and then Gage kept doing this on my hand because she wanted attention. So I was like, she's not going to leave me alone, so I think I need to go give her attention and I'll write later, right? And then when I get back from the hospital, it's like, I got to finish that page anyway. I didn't finish the whole entry, but I need to finish this page or it's going to drive me nuts. So, finished the page, and then we went to bed. And I was trying to put myself in a better mood because I was irritated. And I think I found some twin flame reunion frequency kind of a thing to listen to. And I woke up at 3:30 and I was so fucking pissed. It's like, I should not listen to this anymore because I feel like it's just inviting bad things into this connection, right? And I don't want to do that. So I go ahead and feed the dogs. And I get more livid because my dad is no longer in his bed, right? And his dogs are running around, which, fine. He said, leave the door open, which was because, he wants to allow the dogs to go do whatever the fuck they want and not have to worry about it, right? He doesn't want to be woken up by them when they're hungry or whatever, and when they hear mine, running down the hallway or whatever. He wants me to have to deal with that, right? I can just feed his dogs too, right? So, anyway, he's not in his bed, and the door's still open. He had left my mom's light on for some reason, and I had just put the shadow puff in there, and as I was shutting the door, he's like, oh, just leave it open. So it's like, yeah, okay, cool. When I go to feed my dogs 3:30 in the morning, I am going down the hall to the living room, right? Because you gotta go around the corner and get to the garage where the morning food is and all this stuff. But when I get to the living room, I step in a fucking puddle. And I feel pretty confident that it was likely my father. Which is why I was especially livid. And I say I think it's him because Pepper is a little tiny dog. She doesn't make that kind of big puddle. Piper walks when she pees. She ain't gonna leave it in one spot. It was a big puddle in one spot, and my 3 were all locked up in my room with me, because that's where they sleep. So, process of elimination, I'm thinking it was my father. And I know he's not above it. Now, of course, that's... I'm already pissed when I wake up. Then I'm just like beyond livid because I just stepped in a fucking puddle that's just standing there in the middle of the floor in the dark, right? So I go get the towel that I always keep a towel somewhere nearby in the living room or kitchen because Gidget, inevitably, when she goes out and plays ball, she used to run on sand and learned that she can cool her toes by standing in the water bowl or walking around in the swimming pool outside, right? We have one of those kiddie pools, which I need to put up, I think, for the season, because I think we need to just be done with that. But they all use it as a water bowl, and, she walks around in it after she's done running, and, if she's outside doing it, then she'll track outside and not so much inside. But she does it again when she gets inside, stands her front feet in the water bowl, and and then tracks it everywhere. It's like... So I always have a towel handy. So I found that towel, and I went, and I cleaned up the mess, and my dogs were, up my ass because we went to the place where the food was, but I didn't get the food. But then we ended up grabbing something else and going backwards because, I had to clean up the freaking puddle on the floor that I just walked in. And so I went back and fed the dogs, right? But couldn't find Pepper. Piper was there, couldn't find Pepper. Pepper, she's the old lady, the little dog. I don't know if she was outside. I don't know what her deal was. I looked sometimes, since she has all this big fluffy coat, she likes to lay on the tile floor in the bathroom. So I went to see if she was in there. And my father is laying in the family room on the floor in front of his little heater, right? And I'm pretty confident he was the one that peed on the floor because he had a towel or something over his butt. And if he is covered at all and not just laying there in the Depends, it usually means he's not wearing the Depends anymore. Did he ever have one on? God only knows. Did he just walk down the hall and happen to pee right there on the floor? I wouldn't put it past him. And then carry on about his business? Absolutely would not put that past him. I've said many times, he is trying to force me to have to clean up after him. right? So this is why it's like it's the battle that it is, right? You know, and I talked about the other day the issues with the dogs, because I have said constantly since they started talking about getting another dog, no, I do not want another dog. I do not want something else to take care of, because we all know it's going to fall on me. And then of course, you know, there's the conversation where my mom's trying to warm me up to it, and oh, would Taz like a little puppy or a bigger puppy? It's like, no, Taz doesn't want a puppy. The older dogs don't want puppies, you know, because obviously, well, inevitably, you get a young one when you have older ones. You know, Gidget was the baby before that one got brought in, and she's 8. So mine are 8, 9, and 12, and Pepper is something like 13-ish. So there we are. But of course, we get this dog that I didn't want, and it's falling on me to take care of it, right? Because I cannot, in good conscience, not work with that dog when I am here and knowing I can see the issues that she's having, right? I can see what they are and try to work with her on those things. And, you know, it has taken her a long time to warm up to the idea of even walking past me while I hold the screen door open. But she has recently started doing that. So thank God for that. However, if for any reason she gets spooked near the door, she's going to run the opposite direction. And then it's going to, like, it starts the whole damn process all over again. It's like, I gotta take forever to get the dog in, right? And then of course, the other day, my dad makes that comment about, you're a really good dog wrangler, because it's my pat on the back because I fell in line, right? So now, you know, my father did his stupid stunt the week before yesterday was 1 week ago that he did that, right? And at the 1 week mark, here goes mom. And of course, my father has 2 doctor's appointments tomorrow, so I'm just expected to run those now. And my aunt and uncle are leaving tomorrow to go on their cruise. Right? So I think part of it was my mom was thinking that might also slow them down on theirs. But it's not. They're still going. But I don't give a shit. With all this bullshit that my mom's doing, I am not going to participate in going and spending all this time over with my grandma to fill in for my mom. I'm not going to do it. I don't care that my aunt and uncle are gone. I have been actively avoiding my grandmother, and, you know, everybody knows that. They don't know why. They can't for the life of themselves figure out why I might possibly be mad at grandma. But they really don't want me to get started because then I'm going to, like, shit'll hit the fan. You know, it's like they already, okay, my aunt next door, she knows I did not like my grandfather. And, you know, she had something come up where she got her feelings hurt by something her son had said when my grandfather was in the hospital, because, you know, he said, for 6 years, I keep getting phone calls that grandfather is not doing well, and then I go and, you know, have to take a break from my job so I can get there to visit my sick grandfather, and he's not dying. And he hasn't died. This is something that's happened for 6 years, right? So when my aunt was all upset about that, and she told me about it, showed me what he said, I was like, I just looked at her, I said, I get what he's saying. I said, I get why you don't like it, but I absolutely get what he's saying. And here's the thing. I said, it's not just 6 years. I said, this has been ever since I was 8 and they moved back up here. This has been my life. Is everything stops because that old man is having a crisis, and, you know, everybody's supposed to just drop everything and be terrified for him and the possibility of losing him. It's like, for 33 years, I mourned that man's death and he would not die. So, good riddance. Like, seriously, like, that's been one of the biggest blocks in my life is my grandfather, my grandmother, my mother, my father, right? They're all, like, huge in why I haven't been able to do more in my life, right? And that is what I started figuring out once I started setting boundaries. Before, I was made to feel bad anytime I didn't want to do anything. I did not know I was allowed to have boundaries because my family made me feel bad about it. Right? And it was like, there was always this big, massive guilt trip or whatever. And it's like, this shit, something always goes wrong, inevitably, you know, and this is like a big part of why I will not be around my grandmother. If I go over there for any reason, she's next. She's gonna fall, she's gonna do something, I'm gonna get a phone call and be expected to go back over there. Not gonna do it. You know, at this point, the other uncle is retired, so, maybe he gets to spend some time with my grandmother. My father might get to spend some time with my grandmother, but I'm not going to spend time with my grandmother because I don't fucking care. Yeah. What time is it? 6:40. Okay. I was writing this morning and actually, I think it was last night. I was sitting in my room and I was just looking at the stuff in here, right? I got a lot of stuff on the walls, right? And just miscellaneous stuff in here anyway. And I've been purging, I've been clearing stuff out, I've been selling stuff off and freeing up space. But as I was looking, it's like, I think it's time to pull the stuff off the walls. I think it is time to get some of the bigger stuff. Okay, basically this. It is time to make this space feel like this is not home. This is not my fucking home. I am done as soon as I can find my way out of here, right? I'm just waiting for the right pieces to fall into place and hoping that my parents do not fuck it up completely for me in the meantime. And the bigger thing is trying to maintain the disconnect between me and them and not get pulled right back into their chaos, which is what this is, them trying to pull me into their chaos, and continue what I know I need to be doing, which is getting my shit out of here, disconnecting my stuff, right? This is why I got the storage unit back in May, was so I could start moving stuff out and making it feel like I was really disconnecting. You know, and I talked about that with my ex when I was in Alabama. You know, the first couple times that I tried to move out and go down there, and then the last time I went back, you know, it was like the other times were to show me what needed to be done to make that happen, right? So what needed to happen was I had to get my own separate bank account, because he had one he didn't tell me anything about, and so it's like, you know what, we had a joint one, but most of his money was going into, like, most of his checks and everything were going to the other one. And he was just trying to keep me far away from it. And that makes sense because when he was in Germany, there was this thing, which this goes back to my mom being the kind of the little demon in my ear, kind of saying things that aren't necessarily helpful. My sister-in-law got this urge to Google his username when he was in Germany, and found out he was on, like, it looked like a gay dating app, right, while he was in Germany. And of course, you know, he was one, his son hugged a neighbor because they were hanging out, right? This kid only had been around his brothers. It was the usual thing to hug the brothers before he left, right? That was the common thing. So this friend comes over, and he's still in this mindset, because he was like 9. I think it was before he turned 10. No, maybe it was 10. I don't know. Anyway, neighbor friend comes over, they hang out, they have fun. The neighbor kid goes to leave, and the kid, because that was what he always did with his brothers, gave the friend a hug. And it's like, oh, like immediately, as soon as it happened, I was standing, because I was there with him, and I think my ex hadn't gotten in yet. I was just like, oh, that's not going to go well. And Of course it didn't. And of course, I don't know what shit went downhill from there on that with that kid's end, or at school or anything. Friend in the neighborhood, friend from the bus, friend from school, and oh shit. My ex, when I told him what had happened, and so he knew that this was something that could potentially be an issue, he said, "Why would you do that? That's weird." And I said, "Why would that be weird when he has brothers and that's how they, they greet each other, they leave each other with hugging each other? Why would that be a problem? Or why would that be weird?" But, he was kind of pushing that, the mindset. And, I've said on here before, I was pretty confident that a big part of what he hated about me was, the fact that I was female, for one thing. And I always felt like he was very firmly closeted and would never come out of the closet, because his family, even though he had a gay uncle and a gay aunt, his mom and dad had said or done some things in his early years that I think gave him the insight that it wasn't okay. So it's like, I always got the sense that he was very deeply closeted and will never come out. And of course, while he's in Germany, this thing comes up where it looks like he's on a gay dating app. So the point of that story was, because of that, because the little devil in my ear trying to figure out what to do with this whole fucking connection, right? And this whole weird thing of my ex's my husband at the time was in Germany on a fucking dating app, and I'm over. He's supposed to be there for job training, and I'm still at home, and all this crap, right? What happened was I got talked into draining the bank account. I almost didn't go to Germany. And then it's like, I feel like that would be stupid to not go and get a free trip to Germany when this might be my only opportunity to ever travel anywhere else in the world. And it's like, his company's ready to pay for it, right? So we'll just do that. But there was a time, there was a time that I thought about not going and not telling him that I wasn't going, but it's like, well, that's not going to go very far, because, I was taking his kid with me. But the money went from that account and went to a different account, but there was a whole bunch of other drama because of that. So I get that he, the separate account thing. However, I don't know why I didn't get another account sooner either, but I didn't, until I was working on figuring out how to disconnect from the connection entirely, and because I had left the time in December 2017, I had packed a bunch of stuff, and it was in the front room, which was where my birds were. And when I went to leave, I had told him at some point before I was leaving that I was leaving, because I had to have my parents come up and help me move stuff back. And when he found out that I was leaving, his answer to that was to unpack a bunch of my shit and hide it. So obviously that gave me the insight that I needed to get my own bank account, so I didn't know about the storage unit, get the storage unit, start moving stuff out, do it quietly, start with the things that he definitely would not notice, like stuff from the shed and whatnot. So that was like preparation for this, right? So then back in May, I was like, I need to get a storage unit. I need to start moving stuff out. I need to start making it feel like I'm disconnecting from this space. So now, when I'm looking around last night, it's like, I have way too much shit in here still, making it feel somewhat homey, right? Because of course, it's like, if you don't have a set plan on where to go or anything, or how to get there, for that matter, it's kind of hard to know how to pack shit up, right? But now I think I'm at the point of the stuff on the walls. I'm going to leave the goddess up there, but I think as far as like my picture frames and the miscellaneous other things, most of those are just going to come down and get put in storage. And let's see, what time is it? It is 6:50. I'm debating. I have a bookcase in the office that doesn't have any. It has a bunch of junk on the top of it, but I just need to like clear that off, and then I can like take that over the storage unit. So I'm debating on if I'm doing that before I go back over to pick my father back up. I told my aunt one of the things on my agenda is I'm going to delete the things that I have posted for sale and redo those so that's updated. You know, and like those were all like posted back in August or whatever, and it's like they've been there for a few weeks, probably not coming to the top of any list anymore, so I'll go take some pictures of the things again and, you know, repost them. But I think I am going to go ahead and try to do that. Will you stop? Just hold his mouth shut. He's a good goofy. Thank you. I did spend time with my aunt and uncle today and got a lot of venting done, so they got to hear a lot of things. I was like, ooh. You know, and a lot of what I was talking about, I think they kind of already kind of picked up on, because there's literally always something in this family. So it's something specific that's gone wrong or whatever. You know, and like one of the things, you know, my aunt always kind of cringes when I have not nice things to say about my grandfather, but at the same time, she kind of gets some of it sometimes, but I think she has the block on wanting to get all of it, because that was her dad, right? And she doesn't want to admit that, you know, the stuff that I'm talking about is like actually abusive shit. You know, even though that this is the aunt that that I think before me and my brother were born, I think she was the one that got dumped on the most by my grandfather, right? Because the youngest was the golden child, where, you know, she could do no wrong. I mean, the biggest wrong thing that she did was be born a girl, but she was this tomboy, so by the time she came around, he accepted he wasn't going to have any boys, so he'd at least make do with that one, since it at least likes sports, right? And then my mom was just always into enabling the shit out of him, right? And trying to earn daddy's love and affection, and she had been doing that, you know, before the middle sister was born. So then when the middle sister's born, I think she was the one that got kind of the brunt of the dissatisfaction. Because, like, my mom for the past several years has made fun of how my aunt doesn't seem to want to be around her parents by herself. I get that. I absolutely get that. Because they're not nice people. They never have been. At least the one's dead now. I was thinking, okay, so there's this song that came out back around the time, I think it came out before my grandfather passed away. Well, then after he passed away, it's like I just kind of latched onto that song real good. Because that's how it is with music, right? And it's, I'm going to say it's Hollywood Undead, Hollywood Forever. I'm not going to swear to that, but there's a line in it when he's talking about his dad. He says, it's kind of hard to be mad when you're so, or kind of hard to be sad when you're so fucking mad. And it's like, that's my family. It's like I felt that with my grandfather. It's like I feel that with my grandmother, and she's not dead yet. I feel that with my father, and he's not dead yet. And I feel that with my mother, and she's not dead yet. And it's like, I'm just really sick of this bullshit. I'm ready to go do something else and have my own life and leave these people behind, right? And go do my own thing. And hopefully they don't fuck it up in the meantime, right? Before I actually am able to get there. Oh, when I woke up and was pissed at 3:30 this morning, I said I had listened to, like, it was like some Twin Flame reunion frequency kind of a thing, but then I woke up and I was just infuriated, and it's like, I cannot listen to this because this is not the shit I want to bring into this connection. So I got to looking around on YouTube, and it was this thing that had just recently been posted. Like, it came up I think it was posted on the 7th, which was yesterday, right? So it was it's called Healing Vibrations, I think, is the creator, and it was like the sound bath for cord cutting, you know. And he had this. I think he said it was a buzz bow that he was using to kind of symbolize the cutting cords thing. But I listened to that. It was like when I was angry and I started clicking through trying to find something more suitable to listen to while I was, you know, pissed off at my family. It just like popped up and was like, that's meant to be listened to right now. And so I played it while I was sleeping, because it's like one of those things where it's like 8 hours or something. And I woke up in an immensely better mood. It's like, hot damn, I need to listen to this like every day that I'm here until I leave. Because fuck this shit. But yeah, on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, because I do have other shit to do, and I would kind of like to... I always feel more productive and better about things in general when I at least get something over to the storage unit, right? So I can go dump everything off of this bookcase real quick, throw it in the truck, throw the chair in the truck that I just pulled out. I don't know if I'm going to sell it. It doesn't have the pad on it. It's like an IKEA chair that I got from my brother and sister-in-law that their hound chewed a little bit on. I might go ahead and post that for sale for like, I don't know, $20, because I think you could sand down the little chewy spot and paint over it and it would be fine. That's kind of been my plan for it. But make me feel better having stuff out of the house more. So I think that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. And then head back to the hospital so I can pick my father up and pop in to say hi to my mother again, I guess. I don't know. I'm really irritated as fuck that I have to run appointments now tomorrow. Have to. But, yeah. Anyway, as always, I appreciate you. Until the next time. See ya.